Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Geri Puleo and I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar on the self-talk of burnout. What we're going to be talking about today are some of the key phrases that are used by burned out workers. Now these can be phrases that you use to yourself in your own self-talk, in the statements that you make to other people, as well as in the statements that other people make to you. All of these phrases can indicate that you or they are in fact burned out. As I mentioned, the key phrases of burnout can be found in your self-talk, in your conversations with other people, and in the conversations that other people have with you. So ask yourself, have you ever said, or have you heard anyone else say, I feel guilty if it's less than perfect? Or what about, I might have been a fill in the blank, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief? Or what about, others should be doing something and they're not doing it? Or have you said, look, I just need a few days off and then I'll be fine? Or what about, I feel like I'm going to explode? So what's really behind the self-talk of burnout? In other words, what perceptions and assumptions are the motivations for what you are saying to yourself as well as to other people? Well, the self-talk of burnout in general focuses on one or more of the following four things. The difference between your expectations and your current reality. In other words, you perceive a gap between what you wanted and what you actually have. Now, this can be tangible. It might be intangible. In fact, a lot of times it is intangible. So these can be things like the unmet goals. Remember the statement about, I might have been a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief? That goal is unmet, and you keep focusing on the gap rather than focusing on where you are right now. In addition, there's a gap between your expectations of other people and what it is that they're actually doing. So that relates to the statement, others should be doing something and they aren't. Another assumption or perception relate to the shoulds of perfectionism. I admit I am a recovering perfectionist. Some people say I'm a functioning perfectionist. So I know firsthand the anger, guilt, and self-doubt that occurs when you're trying your best to do something, but because of your burnout and your inability to function, you're not achieving what you know you can or should be able to achieve. The third perception underlying the self-talk of burnout relates to feelings of being a victim. You're trying, and trying, but others, they're the problem. If only they'd get out of my way, I would be fine. So feeling victimized, your self-talk focuses on attempts to change or blame other people for what it is you're really experiencing. The problem with this is you don't take control of your own destiny. The final perception underlying the self-talk of burnout relates to denial, and that's one of the key stages of the burnout spiral, according to Freudenberger, who was a psychoanalyst who first identified the burnout phenomenon. People who are burned out tend to say, I'm not angry, I'm not irritable, it's your fault. Or they experience depression, but they don't really admit to feeling depressed. All of this leads into avoidance. It's kind of like sticking your head in the sand or putting your fingers in your ears and going, la, 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 I can't hear you. So this denial of feelings and physical symptoms will come up and underscore the language that you use in terms of your own self-talk and in your conversations with other people. The good news is that, as Earl Nightingale said, you are what you think about. So the self-talk that's related to continuing your progress on the burnout cycle can be turned around so that the self-talk instead focuses on changing those perceptions and assumptions so you can come out of the spiral. So let's go back to those original sentences and try to reframe them. Instead of saying, I feel guilty if it's less than perfect, focus instead by saying, I'm doing the best that I can with the resources that I have. Why is that important? Because unfortunately, in today's world, nobody gets 100% of all the resources that they need to do the absolutely best job. So don't beat yourself up about it, but keep on doing the best that you can given those resources. Instead of saying, I might have been a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, turn it around and say, I used to want to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, but now I can be something else, and then define that. Instead of lamenting and complaining that other people should be doing whatever and they aren't, focus instead on the positive. They're trying their best too, and they may be just as burned out as you are. So instead, focus by saying, I appreciate what they are doing, and that is, and then fill in the blank and be specific. It's amazing. It'll help build bridges between you and others. Instead of denying by saying, I just need a few days off and then I'll be fine, focus instead on the here and now and say, I don't need to wait to take the time to renew myself. Make yourself a priority. And then finally, instead of gritting your teeth and saying that you feel like you're going to explode, don't avoid or deny those feelings. Instead, say, I will acknowledge my feelings and then find a safe outlet to vent them. It can be physical activity, it can be talking to a friend, whatever works with you. So remember, the self-talk of burnout isn't something that's happening to you, but it's something that once you realize it, you can control and turn it around so that you're no longer burned out, but instead feeling more functioning, more satisfied, and more happy.